Hey residents of Meepletown, today we're looking at the exit game, The Stormy Flight, where you are taking on the role of a crew member of an airplane, but something has gone awry, and you all need to fix this plane so that it can land safely. Now this is normally the time that I would say, let's get to the table and check out the exit game. However, there are a lot of spoilers in this game, and so I'm not going to actually show any of the gameplay. I'll kind of talk through some of the things that are pretty generic to the exit game series, and then just kind of give my thoughts on this game specifically. So let's talk about the exit game, The Stormy Flight. So in this game, like I said, you're taking on the role of a crew member. You're trying to land this plane safely. Basically what you're doing is you're going to be solving these series of puzzles. So you start off and you're going to be looking at these riddle cards, and the riddle cards will give you obviously these puzzles that you need to complete. And you're going to have this wheel. And on this wheel, you are going to be moving these dials around so that you can figure out what the code is. Everything in the game is going to have a 3-digit code, and it's also going to line up with these different symbols that are on here. So once you figure out the code for that riddle, you're going to turn that around, and it will show you on this window this number. And in this case, it was 1. So I would look at the number 1 card, flip it over, and that would say either I possibly got it right or I definitely missed it. If I possibly got it right, it gives you a series of different symbols on there that you're going to try to do. That you're also going to look at, and then you'll match up the symbol with this wheel with the symbol on that card. Find that card in the deck, and then this is the answer decks that you're looking through. And if that is right, it'll give you new options for tell you which cards to pull out of the deck for your next set of riddles, and you're just going to keep going through that. So that's kind of the gist of how the game plays. Let me go into the kind of the art and components. Mostly I'm going to be talking about the gameplay. Art and components, you know, in these exit games that you're just looking at cards, there's some other cardboard components, but what you don't want in this game is too many components, because you're going to be just chunking this in the trash after you get done with it, because you have cut cards up, potentially bent things, you are punching things out and getting all the cards messed up. So you're left with an unplayable game after this, after you get done playing this one. And that's the exit series. This one is no different. So art and components are, you know, they are what they are. They're components that are meant to be thrown away. On to the gameplay. Now the gameplay, I really love the way the exit games play. I think that this system is really cool, because in these puzzles, they're not just the normal like figuring it out, looking through this deck of cards, and then moving on to the next puzzle. It is that sort of, but you have to manipulate the different pieces to the game. Sometimes, again, you're cutting up cards, you're bending things, you're moving things around, you're potentially, you know, tearing things out, whatever. You know, there's a lot of different things, writing on things, there's lots of things that you can be doing. And I like that, because it makes you think outside of the box more than some of what these other exit games do. You know, Unlock is a series that I really enjoy. I think the games are a lot of fun, but they are kind of more, I guess, linear in nature, and that you're kind of following this path. Now, again, exit series, you are going through a deck and you are kind of following this path, but you're forced to think out of the box a lot more than what you would in some of these other exit games. And I really think that's cool. I love the system for this. That being said, in this one specifically, in the Stormy Flight, some of those puzzles can be pretty frustrating and maybe not work, I think, the way that they were intended to work. There's one in particular puzzle in this game when I was like, I get what I'm supposed to be doing, but when I'm trying to accomplish that thing, it's not really working out that way. And it became pretty frustrating. And there were some other ones that after I got done, I was like, how in the world, or as I'm figuring this out, I'm, you know, how can I do this? How can I do this thing to figure out this puzzle? And then after it happens, I'm like, oh, okay. Or if I had to use a clue, I'm like, okay, I get it now. So that part, it's just, you know, it is what it is. If you really like those thinkier puzzles, you know, that's what you want in these type of games, something that's really going to challenge you, and it's not just like giving you the answers. That being said, this one is a level 2 on the novice to expert, so 2 out of 5 on the weight of the, not the weight of this, but on the complexity of the puzzles in this one. and I think this one was pretty challenging. Now, I was playing this with my wife and not a larger group, so it was just two minds thinking and not, a whole group of people. That could have been a challenge, and she was basically carrying us like she always does in these type of games. So I think that could have been a part of it. With more people, some of the puzzles wouldn't have been as difficult. But the problem is with the exit games, you can't have multiple people working on different puzzles. You all have to be working on one thing until you can get to the next puzzle. And so that becomes a challenge, right? But overall, let me just get to my final thoughts of this. The Stormy Flight, I really enjoyed this one, and it makes me excited to try even more and more of these ones. I think this one is good, not great compared to some of the other ones, some of the other puzzles that are from the other games. But I still really enjoyed it. I just felt like it would have been really difficult for me to get through this entire thing without cheating, without looking at the hint cards. I know that one of them, even though I know that what I was supposed to be doing, it wasn't lining up the way that I had hoped it would. So that became a little bit of a challenge. But overall, again, I really like this. I like this series a lot, and I like this one a lot. I'm going to stick with this game specifically. I'm going to give this one an 8. And that is kind of on the lower of this series in general. Again, because of some of the difficulties that I had with this one specifically. But I still think this series is a lot of fun. I love that it makes you think outside the box. I love that it just plays so differently than some of these exit games. So anyway, 8's a really good score, a game that I like a lot. But I'm real hesitant to give these types of game scores at all, just because we use the Board Game Geek scale of how often you want to play this game. Well, I will never play this game again because it's done. But when I think about my experience and the good time that I had, my wife and I really enjoyed the system and making things work out. So anyway, 8, really good score. Really enjoy these exit games. That's going to do it this time for the exit game. If you would like to see more content from Meepletown, you can go to meepletowngames.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Meepletown Games. You can go to the Board Game Geek Guild number 3407 to connect with us. Maybe on a more personal level. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for coming down to Meepletown.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Meepletown Games, and connect with us on the Meepletown Guild number 3407 at BoardGameGeek.com, and also subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.